And here we are for part 3 of this soil lab. It is 7 o'clock the next morning. Yesterday we ended up about, a little after 5 o'clock. And I told you we'd be back in about 14 hours. Well, it's about 14 hours later. So this is our sample from yesterday. And what I'm seeing, as I said here, is from the bottom up to right in this neighborhood, I'm seeing sand particles. I'm going to try and zoom in just a little bit and then let the camera adjust its automatic focus. And I believe you should be able to see behind the glass here, you can see some of these larger sand particles peeking through. And as we pan up, we continue to see the larger sand particles up to right in this neighborhood here. Then it becomes more of our smaller particles, which we would call the silt particles. And then we go up and you can see a light ring here across the top. That would be our clay layer. So we're going to call it sand from the bottom to right about here. We're going to call this our silt layer, and we're going to call this our clay layer. Now, in order to do this, what we're doing, and we come back to our chart, which is, whoops, I don't think you can see that, right here behind us. And so after 24 hours, it's supposed to be, because we're supposed to do this during class, it asks, measure the sample after 24 hours. Well, yesterday we measured this at 6 centimeters. So we're going to set this down, and our sample is, right back to 6 centimeters. So we start here at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is even right there with the top. So our sample did not change after 24 hours like some have. Are there any layers? Yes, I see 3 layers if I look closely enough. Then on my sheet, here at the bottom, here at the bottom I have a question that says sketch what you see. I'm going to skip that one just because we're on the clock here with the camera. And we're going to go to the next page. Now, I'm going to pick you up here so you can see the questions. This one, it says, now we need to figure out the percentage for each layer. Pay attention, and Mr. B, that's me, will show you how to do this. So, here's how this is done. Let me grab this up here so that you can follow along, and we'll see how this is done. So it says the depth of the sample is 6 centimeters. Now it wants to know the depth of the sand. So I'm going to set you back down. We're going to measure each one, and then I'll take you through how we do the math. So as I said, I'm seeing the sand layer go to right about here. This is about 4 centimeters. So the depth of the sand is 4 centimeters. Then we have the depth of the silt. The silt's going to be from about 4 to 5.5. So the depth of the silt is 1.5. And then the depth of the clay would be 0.5 centimeters. So now we're going to do some calculating and figure out the percentages. And percentages are really very easy to figure out if you know how to do it. I'm going to bring up my handy-dandy calculator here on my cell phone. I'm going to grab you up again so that you can watch me do this right here. So we're going to clear this out. And what I've done is I've set this up like a division problem. So the total depth goes right here. It's the bottom of the fraction. It is what we're dividing by. Then the depth of the sand is 4. That's the top of the fraction. The depth of the silt is 1.5, and the depth of the clay is 0.5. Please make sure that all of these numbers add up to your total depth, in this case 6 centimeters. We had some students that were giving me some really funky numbers the other day, and I had to remind them that it has to add up to be that number. So I'm going to take, back up here, let me get this out of the way so that you can see me do the math and then write the numbers in. 4 divided by 6 should come out to be 66 or 67%. Yes, it is. It's 0.6667. So we'll do this. This is 0.67 or 67%. In decimals, in fractions, for percentages, you would take this and multiply it times 100 to move the decimal spot over 2 spaces. Then we're going to take 1.5 divided by 6. That equals 25%. And then the 0.5 divided by 6 equals 8%. So 67 plus 25, that's a 12. That's a 92 plus 8 is 100%. If your percentages come out just under or just over 100%, say 99 to 101, because you've been rounding numbers, please don't panic. You've done nothing wrong and there's nothing to worry about. Okay, so now we're going to use our soil triangle and we're going to figure out what is our soil type. Now, the soil triangle is very easy to use. We're going to use our sand, which is 67. So I'm actually going to come over here and put this in on the 70% line because there's our sand. And it's just easier to get to 70. 67 would be right about here, so it's very close. Did a little bit of rounding. I'm going to take our silt, which is 25. That's right up here. And then what we're going to do is basically, we only need 2 of these points to connect. So I'm going to come down this line right here and come through the bottom. That's my silt line. Then I'm going to take my sand and we're going to go up like this right here. Now if I wanted to, I could come over here and do the clay. Clay is around 10%. Come back across and we all meet right here in this section called, let me wait for it, called sandy loam. Now again, they don't all meet at the same spot because again I did some rounding, so it moved the lines over just a little bit, but they all do meet right here, and you only need 2 of these points to do the intersections to find out where they meet. So we meet here at sandy loam, and actually we're very, very close to this loamy sand. In our area, we like to have things that are a little bit more sandy. It allows the water to drain through a little bit more freely, and it carries some of the salts and the other things that are detrimental to plant growth away from the plant roots. Again, loam is the best soil you can possibly have. This is the almost perfect mix of sand, silt, and clay, although you can see 50% sand, 45% sand, 40% sand is in that loamy range with around 60% silt. So loam, if it was a perfect 30-30-30, would be kind of up here in the middle, but loam is actually down here because we like a little bit more sand. It helps with the drainage and allowing the water to flow through. So using the soil triangle, what type of soil? Ours is a sandy loam. And we have now completed our first soil lab trying to determine the particles of sand, silt, and clay and what soil type we have. And hopefully you've learned a little something from it. This is something that anybody can do at home. As I said, you can get the soil triangle off the internet, and you can do this at your house just by yourself if you wanted to. And so stay tuned. Our next one will be the chemical soil lab, and I'll be doing that later this afternoon after school and posting that later. So stay tuned. There's more to come.